When will you actually go home, though? Like, when is your next trip?
I want to say soon, but I don't want to jinx myself.
Yeah.
Every time I've said soon, it's like never happens. So.
Were you here when COVID happened or over there?
I was here, yeah,
Oh, no.
stuck in school. I don't know why I didn't know anyone, but I was stuck in school.
Where are you attending school?
I was at Lee University, Cleveland, Tennessee.
Yes, I've heard of Lee
Singing
University.
school, yeah. That's
Did you love it there?
I did. We'd sing all the time. It was the best. We have 7 choirs. Jordan Smith from The Voice went to our school. Yeah, so it was. We're
7 choirs?
7 choirs.
Wow. I don't think I realized it's around Chattanooga, correct?
It is. We're 30 minutes from Chattanooga.
Isn't it
so
beautiful
close.
up there?
I love Chattanooga. Cleveland, Tennessee, no offense to anyone who loves Cleveland, Tennessee. Nothing to do. Drive 30 minutes and you have everything to do.
You know what they say? They say, is Lee College, is it a Christian?
It is, yeah.
They say that they build these Christian colleges 30 minutes from the nearest sin.
From the nearest sin.
Yes.
That probably.
As a buffer zone.
I mean, that's what Howard Payne's in Brownwood. It's pretty far from the Metroplex.
Yeah, more than 30 minutes, that's for sure.
Poor Houston Christian, man. They are right in the middle of it all. They're 2 exits down.
So many temptations.
Hey, in the world, but not of the world.
That's
So
true.
you've already graduated?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll get into the interview a little
Yeah.
bit more. We haven't gotten to sit down with Tehilah and ask all these questions. Mostly it's been, why are you painting this mural
Yeah.
at the 106-degree heat?
Yeah.
What's that for? So,
Mhm. So do you want to actually get started?
yeah, let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast from the CityRise Network. Hosted by Jennifer Dennis and produced by me, Justin Kello, we're a podcast that was supposed to be focused on parenting, but we've kind of lost the plot along the way. Honestly, we don't know what this podcast is about, but we talk to incredible people who love Jesus, and our hope is to provide encouragement and fun whenever possible. If our lack of clear direction bothers you, we apologize, but no one is making you listen to this podcast, unless you're married to Jennifer. Andy, thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast. We're excited that you're here today. We have a great show. So let's dive in. Let's begin with the fact that Justin looks really nice today.
Yeah, thank you.
You've got on a button up and everything.
I do, yes. We are making a transition at Crosspoint for the next few weeks out of the sanctuary into the gym while they work on the sanctuary, which means our live stream is not going to be happening. So we're pre-recording sermons, and this is an upcoming sermon I'm preaching live, but I have to also preach it to a camera so that it's ready for people at home who are not here, which I'm going to date us, but it's Labor Day weekend and nobody's at church. So it's important that we record. It's important that we record the sermon.
Are you one of the holiday preachers?
I am the original, the OG holiday preacher. Every time it's a holiday at Crosspoint, we're like, you preaching? I'm like, actually, no, because we have more preachers now than we used to. But when I first came, it was like me and Chris were the only ones. And so it's
Justin was the Labor Day preacher.
I love being the holiday preacher because the people who are there really want to be there. Like, no one comes out of obligation on, 4th of July.
These are the standard true folks.
Yes, they're a really easy crowd to preach to because they are eager to be there. But no, we're good. I am wondering, Jennifer, how do you feel about this writers and actors strike going on? Do you have any opinions about it?
I'm not keeping up with it as much as I should. I'm really not involved in it.
I just wanted to share today that part of me, of course, feels sad for these people who are fighting for their livelihoods, who are having a real tough go at it. Honestly, because of corporate greed. It's wild that they even have to beg for what they're getting. But on the other side of it, I'm kind of excited that TV content's going to slow down a little bit because I feel so far behind on so many things. I don't need any more new shows coming out.
It's giving you a break.
I don't know if you feel this, but there's an underlying TV anxiety in me all the time. I'm missing out on what everybody's watching if I'm not watching it. And
No, I don't have that.
You don't have that? You don't have people, everybody's talking about this show and you're not watching it. I have that. And it's just, it became so overwhelming. We just reverted to shows we'd already seen. I just gave up. I was like, I'm done keeping up. There's some shows, but we're in a real kind of routine of watching a show we've already seen before. I don't know what it is, but I'm happy that maybe we'll get a break from new TV content. But at the same time, I feel there's real people behind this issue. So I'm not making light of it.
So the longer this goes on, it's the better.
I'll catch up. I can finally catch up on these shows because there's a few series that I keep up with, but I don't have time. Because the kids go to bed at 7:30.
Sure.
We don't watch grown-up TV shows. Before we had kids, we'd get home from work and TV was on. We'd watch a lot of shows. We could crank through a series in 3 days. But now we have kids and kind of living in that life. There's no grown-up TV happening until the kids are in bed. We don't have anything on the screen that's not a cartoon or
of course
somebody playing a video game, which
sure.
is what my kids. You didn't have this. there is a new world where kids are just watching other people play video games. And
No,
my kids discovered it.
I've been in that world.
It's awful.
Olivia and I used to do that.
Okay.
We used to watch kids play Fortnite. We would watch kids play Fortnite. We would sit there and Andy, yes.
I can't get behind it. There's just one guy. They're all annoying. Like there's not anybody that's enjoyable to listen to.
Oh, they have tons of viewers.
Oh, this guy has like 9 million followers on YouTube.
It's crazy.
And like, he's just yelling and my kids think he's so funny. And I finally had to be like, guys, listen, we're done. We made it through the summer. This is not
something. Is he a kid that's their age or is he an older?
He's a grown man. He's a grown man. Yes. And I'm happy for him that he's made a career out of this because he'll bring in his kids and they'll play video games with him. But like at the same time, he's so irritating and my kids are in love with him. And I'm like, there's nothing redeeming about this. Like there's no plot. There's nobody putting in effort to write clever lines. There's no story. There's no art. It's just this guy yelling at his game that he's playing. And my kids became addicted over the summer and I had to break their hearts yesterday. I'm like, we're not doing this anymore. And they fell apart. They couldn't believe it. They can't handle it. Like that I've taken away the funny man is what they call him.
Taking away the funny man.
And I said, maybe on the weekends, but because like weekends is for zoning out.
Maybe for special.
But during the week, can we watch Bluey? Yes. Can we watch something else?
It's like stations and stations of that. It's really crazy.
I knew it existed. I just didn't anticipate my kids being interested in it so early. I thought it was a teenager thing. I didn't know.
Is it a game that they're actually playing?
No, they don't. I spent $400 on a Switch this summer, and they'd rather watch this guy play the video games than play the actual video games.
The ultimate sting.
I am livid about this situation. I was like, why don't y'all play y'all rather watch this guy play the games? Well, yeah, he's better at than we are. I'm like, okay, well, that's it. Whatever.
Well, for me, I am dealing with anxiety, but it's a different kind. I don't know if you're dealing with low water pressure or low water situations.
Is that like a citywide
That's a thing
issue?
happening in parts of Houston where there's very low water. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I have real water anxiety after the freeze. Yeah. And so Andy last night, I'm like, I'm going to go grab a quick shower and then, wrap up the day. And he goes, well, good luck getting water. And I was like, wait, no, what? And I go upstairs and I turn the water on and it's literally like a trickle.
What's happening?
It's something to do with the heat. It's messing up with the water and people aren't getting water pressure.
What?
I know.
It's
so crazy.
I think because of where I live, they have a reserve water situation where they're connected to the city, but they also have the reserves that they kind of like tap into. I don't know what it is. But
the rest of us, it's not, we're not doing that.
Well, that was so funny. In the freeze,
you'll have more water
in the freeze are like, okay, no water pressure because everyone's dripping their pipes. So stop dripping your pipes. But if you don't drip your pipes, your house explodes. And it's just like, there was no winning during the freeze.
Right. So finally there was more pressure this morning, but I'm just like, oh my goodness, I've got to start gathering water again.
Yeah.
Every time I get stressed out about something, it's time to start gathering water. But I'm wondering if other people are going through that too. And I'm just staring at it last night. I'm like, mate, maybe I can take a shower with this, but it would never heat up. Like, I don't know why, but you can't heat it up. And I thought,
well, I will say after the freeze, or maybe it was during my first hurricane season, I did buy these big water jugs that we keep in our garage. And so that when something is impending or there's a fear, like I just get in the bath, I fill them up and they're huge.
Yeah, these giant.
Yeah. And so I have water. So like that's a cheap thing. You don't have to stockpile bottles of water. You just keep that giant jug.
Some big jugs.
And then because we always get warning. We're never surprised. Right. This is odd. This is weird. But like hurricanes, we have days of warning. The freeze, we weren't listening, but we did have warning.
But here we are. It's real subtle, but it's out there.
I can't believe it.
So I remember when Y2K, I don't even know if you were alive then.
Of course I was alive.
And we were afraid Y2K, it was going to wipe out everything. And I remember I met my first in-time preppers. This girl, we went over to her house and she's like, my parents are preparing for Y2K.
Wow.
And I was like, what does that mean? Are you guys having people over?
And
she's like, no, my dad is getting all the food we need for like a year. He's like saving all of and she just starts going through everything. And I'm like, that was before I even knew what preppers were. Yeah. That I don't know if they even existed at that point.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, how about this?
Yeah, it does increase your anxiety. Yeah.
It does. But I was going to say, I got really stressed out about Y2K and I bought like tons of water.
Yeah.
And I carried it around in my trunk of my car for 2 years.
Wow.
And every time someone opened my trunk, they're like, why do you have this water?
I'll say two things about Y2K. After Y2K happened and like nothing happened, everybody's like, oh, that was a lot for nothing. And every like computer engineer was like, yeah, because we've been working for 8 years to fix this problem. Like,
I know.
We were all like, oh, it was nothing. They're like, yeah, because we were working our tails off solving this problem for the past 10 years because we knew it was coming. Like, it was just funny that
it's so true. We thought the lights were going to go out. All of our accounts were going to drop.
They succeeded in their work, and we were just like, oh, that was nothing. Like, we didn't even like say,
there was not even
thank you, computer people, for solving the problem.
People were so afraid of Y2K that people started getting up with the first country that hit 2000 to see if they would black out or they would survive. Yeah, and when the lights stayed on in that first country, sadly.
But the prepper thing, it was Australia. The prepper thing is, this is the first one.
It was Australia.
It is Australia. So you know. The prepper thing is scary because like when you think, well, should I be preparing? Like you'll see them on TikTok now. You'll be like, oh my gosh, should I be, am I doing enough? Like what's going on? And to me, it's kind of a collision of what you believe in and what if you trust in God or not. I think, of course, you should be prepared for things that you feel need to be prepared for. But at the same time, these people who go to the extremes of like preparing for the apocalypse, I'm like, listen, I gotta trust in God because I don't know how to hunt deer and eat them. So I've got to trust God's gonna take care of me. But these people that have these skills and they can stockpile stuff, like great for them. But it does lead me to think, am I doing enough? Should I be being worried? Should I be scared? Should I?
Of course.
And then you gotta remind yourself that God's in control. He's doing whatever he wants. So that's kind of my go-to.
And if I start thinking about everything that we have for comfort, like in our everyday life, and you drop it just to the basics to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, your quality of life is so adjusted at that point to where then I'm thinking, well, we definitely have to have seasonings and we're going to have some really good comforters and some pillows. And for me, because of my personality type, it very quickly goes to comfort.
Yeah.
Diet Coke, like how much Diet Coke should we be?
Yeah.
And at some point you're like, man, we're going to be the only people left with these other guys who are the preppers.
Yeah.
And preppers aren't known as being really fun people. I don't know if you know that, but preppers aren't usually the seize the day, have an enjoy your day kind of folk.
But it's a whole movement, and I think it will always be a movement. I think for all of time, there are people who have been like, a disaster is coming, I need to be ready.
Right.
Like there was a whole TV show about people who built it was a movie about people who built a bomb shelter during the nuclear kind of scary time. And they locked themselves in, and it was locked for 40 years. And they thought the bomb went off and nothing had happened. And the guy comes out. I think it was Brendan Fraser. I think it was his. Yeah. So like the idea of prepping has been around forever.
It's been a long time. But well, speaking of prepping
for life change,
we're talking today to one of our dear friends on staff, and we're excited about what she's getting prepared for. So I'm excited about the show today because we have a great friend of our staff. Actually, her entire family is a friend to our staff and our church. So she has worked this summer with our women's ministry as our intern with Kristen Campbell. Welcome, Tehila Weru.
Yeah.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Oh my goodness. Well, we've seen you around all summer long working with the women's ministry. And finally, Kristen was like, have Tehilah on the show. She's doing something cool in the fall.
Yeah, and Jennifer waited till the literal last second. Like at a staff meeting on Tuesday, they're like, oh, and she's leaving. And Jennifer's like, we got to get her on the podcast. This is her last week. Oh my gosh, we got to get her. So,
it is so true.
In the midst of trying to finish all your projects.
That's exactly your last day.
It is my last day.
It's her last day. She's leaving. She's probably getting a free lunch today.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. I'll say something to Kristen. Welcome. You have done an incredible ministry. First of all, tell us how your family is connected with our church.
Yes. So Westview has been partnered with my parents over 11 years now. They are missionaries, which when I was younger, that's kind of weird. Your parents are missionaries to their own people. That concept did not hit because I'd only seen missionaries outside coming in. But they're missionaries to their own people. And so Westview has been with us since the beginning of my parents' organization known as Three Strands International. And their goal is just to save the least and the lonely. And they empower pastors who are called into ministry, but don't necessarily have the education to run a team or even have gone to school, Bible school. And so my dad kind of helps with that. And then my mom walked alongside him and started empowering women with women ministry at the church, and then helping women with the sew ministry, which she taught herself how to sew out of like nowhere. And now she has a whole organization. She gets women, they learn how to sew, they sell those things, and the women get money. So it's really cool.
And this is in Kenya,
yes,
correct?
This is in Kenya, yes.
Well, I love
yes.
that you said that your parents are missionaries to their people, and you're like, oh, that's kind of weird. That's our favorite partnership as a church.
Yeah.
We don't want to go in and like enforce our will on the people that we're ministering to. We always partner with the local, real, like born and bred, like part of that community. Sometimes they've moved in from out of the country, but for the most part, our partnerships are with nationals, people that have a heart for their people, and we're there to support, empower, equip, come alongside, but we are working with people who are already deeply invested in the people of that nation. And so I love that. It does sound weird, but it's like our favorite. It's our favorite type of partnership.
And we have several of these partnerships that have lasted years and years. So it's such an incredible investment. So you are there are three of you.
Yes, there are three of us. I have an older sister, Praise, who also went here to school. She went to Milligan, and she came here probably for the 4 years, all the summers. She spent it here in Houston working either with students or women's. She did it all. And then my younger sister, Deb, also came, and she did student ministry. And she loved it. And, you know, I just graduated from Lee University, and the first thing I received from Mr. Chuck was like, would you love to just end the Weru, sisterhood and just come and work at West U? And I was like, you know what? Why not?
You've done incredible ministry this summer,
Had fun.
but you have a big plan ahead. So tell us about what you're moving into.
Yeah, I always tell people that it is not my plan, because if it was, I would be balled up somewhere trying to cry and just figure it out. But when I graduated high school, I actually wanted to do advertising with an emphasis in photography. I loved showing people my country from my point of view, which is usually food and nature. And then I didn't get into the schools I wanted to go to. And so I had to, in God's own way, had to take a break, what Americans call like a gap year. So I took that and started working at the children ministry at our church, where my parents have served for over 10 years. And I saw the same curriculum the kids were using, and I was 18 at the time, that I did when I was around 5, 6, 7. And I was like, ain't no way. We're still using the same curriculum. And the more I kept, learning about how children ministry is done, the more I became so disappointed that we don't have the tools, yet our teachers are so excited to pour into our students. And so the more I started thinking about it, the more I became, this idea of like righteous anger, of like something has to change. And so I didn't do anything about it other than I just started Googling and figuring out what can we do for our church. And then there was a church in Marietta that has a huge children's ministry thing that they do during the summer, throughout the year. So I got the opportunity to go intern with them for a summer, and my passion grew even more. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I was like, children ministry, this is it. And so the more I learned, I would take notes and then go back and then do, teach the teachers. And then the teachers started teaching other teachers. And slowly by slowly, this small thing that I just started grew into this massive thing where I was going to different churches talking about, just passion, curriculum, and stuff like that. So in a span of like 2 years, that's all I did. And the Lord was like, you need to go to school because you need some training in you. But truly, that's where my mission kind of started. My parents were such amazing encouragers throughout the journey. And so my goal is to go back. So getting trained with how curriculum is developed, how important it is to pour into our children, and really give them what they need to succeed. Not only like, going to school, but it would be awesome if like knowledge met scripture, and together, it's like this big and powerful thing where our children are missional minded wherever God puts them. So that's how it kind of started. And so, yeah.
So when you start this, how will you be spending your time? What will you be doing specifically?
Yeah. So at the beginning of it is just pouring back. So I have a kind of notebook that I write all this many ideas that I have, but also like the small things that I'm learning. The greatest encouragement I got from a friend was that everything is not going to work. So here in the West, things are really big and there's accessible to like a lot of things. Whereas in Kenya, that's not a reality, but we are very creative. And so just trying to see, okay, if we're going to do a VBS, maybe we cannot have the amazing stage, development, but what can we do? How can we empower the community to come along and like build something for our kids? It doesn't have to be elaborate. The goal isn't to mirror what I've seen here, but to encourage our people to kind of rise up to that, occasion of like, what can we do more for our kids? So it will just be partnering with churches and trying to really understand how their children ministry works, because each church is different, and then trying to tweak and put some things in place that can help them and their children ministry.
So the ministry is focused, like you'll be working here, but you're focusing on your country?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's all remote, working
Yes,
with them,
yeah.
connecting with them. Okay.
So I get like books, like the church in Marietta always sends me a lot of like children ministry books, a children Bible, which is really awesome. And so whenever there's a team from here going to work with my parents, I give them those books, and then they will give the pastors when they get there. And I'm always like, this is what you need, read on this. What can you add? What can you remove? Stuff
and
like
does
that.
this ministry you're working with have representatives like that work for a lot of different countries, or is it focused on Kenya?
It's focused on Kenya now.
Okay.
God willing, one day it will be more of East Africa. But it's different churches. So it's just not your typical, Baptist church. We do all denominations.
Right. What's the name of the organization?
Right now, there's no name.
Oh,
so we're just doing this. It's under, of course, my parents' ministry, 3 Strands.
Okay.
But we don't like have a name for it, which, Lord, one day would love to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, that's all we do is try to resource our children's pastor with what they need to build the mission.
And if someone wants to support what you're doing, if someone hears is like, wow, this sounds really exciting, can they go through 3 Strands? How would they support what's happening?
Yes, go through 3 Strands.
Okay,
yes.
3 Strands.
Yeah.
An the link in the description so we can go to that website.
I think that, wow, like for me, I'm just like, wow, that is such an incredible mission to be able to see that at 18, to be able to see that at such a young age. Yeah. It's such a God-given, here's what I want you to do. And then you're empowering and training these people leading ministry. And I just love what you're doing. We've got to help partner with you more. Definitely have you work on the children's team next summer. Don't tell Kristen. It will be the biggest whatever.
It'll break her heart.
You know what? Like as we're praying for you and as we're helping support you, what do you think are some of the bigger challenges of what you're trying to accomplish? Like,
I think honestly with now, mostly for me, it's the distance. So I'm here at school, just finished. So I want to start my master's, before I go back home. And so that kind of distance between what is happening on the ground makes it really difficult. The other thing is always when you find people with passion. And so a lot of times ministry in our country looks like God has called you. And that literally means being a Sunday school teacher. We don't get paid for what we do. And so sometimes the biggest thing is that we've had a lot of, children ministers who are so passionate for this, but they're running from an empty cup. They are not getting paid for this. And so it just feels like they're pouring into like nothing almost. And that's really, really hard. And it's the other thing that we're really trying to work with pastors for them to see the importance of their children minister. Like you need to pay these people for what they do. And so just getting pastors to see the value in their staff has been a challenge, still is a challenge. I still for now, the 3 different churches that we've consistently worked with, they still don't get paid, but they're still doing it. And that has always been an encouragement of like, keep going. And so just prayer that, you know, monetary value is important right now, but we don't want to set our riches here on earth, but we want to set them up in heaven. And so that has been a consistent reminder for us that, yeah, we're not getting, you know, the accolades right now, but one day when we're in heaven, you know, you look back and you see all these kids who came to Christ because you took time to sit with them and explain what it means when Jesus died on the cross, because we say all these big things, but kids really don't understand. And so that's what we try, at least we try to tell our teachers that, hey, look forward and let's not concentrate on now. So yeah.
So you said that you're going in for your master's degree.
Yes.
Do you know what you're planning?
I have to. I probably might do both of them. I do want to do leadership development because I think that's really important to the place I am in right now, and then holistic child development. But I'm still praying the Lord might bring something else, and I'll be like, okay,
yeah. Well, obviously, we'll do that.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. Will you try to go back to Tennessee, you think, for school?
I'm praying so. So I just started
the summer is really
yeah. But I love Houston too. So
it's 106 degrees.
Yeah.
Let's get some more information on these Tennessee schools. Or maybe anywhere above the Mason-Dixon.
Yeah. It's hot. Houston's hot. Like, this is unreal.
From someone who grew up in Africa.
Yeah, this is
y'all,
bad.
who's like, yo, it's bad. It's hot.
Well, you know, Tehilah at the beginning of the summer, or in the middle of the summer, I said, how are you handling this heat? And she goes, actually, I have to be outside about 2 hours a day.
I have to.
Will you tell us about that?
So it's the weirdest thing. I like either go for lunch and spend like an hour, and then when I come back, I spend another hour. It's the small things in life when you move to a different country. It's the small things that remind you of home. So sometimes the way the wind blows, but to me, it's the feeling of like heat that is just like so calming that when I sit outside, I'm like, this is home. Mm. And then the humidity kicks up to like 1,000 degrees. And I'm like, okay, back to Houston.
I'm okay not being home anymore.
Different.
We go back inside where it's 43 degrees and I have to wear a sweater all day.
It's also like 0 degrees inside buildings.
Yeah.
I know, it's the worst.
Unheard of.
It's the craziest thing.
It's like, how do I dress?
So people are still wearing sweaters. It's 106 degrees outside, but we're wearing sweaters inside. But I thought that was really neat that you had to be outside for 2 hours a day to feel like you were at home. I was thinking, what would you, I was thinking, what would I need to be, I guess around maybe some fried food to feel like I was home.
Well, when I lived in Washington, D.C., like it was about food. It was about, because you couldn't get certain foods outside of your home. Like it's just, if you move more than 10 hours away, you're going to be removed from food you grew up with. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So like
that's part of our get to know you question today.
So the barbecue and the Tex-Mex was what I missed most. And when I could get that, like Krista and I, they built a Chewy's an hour and a half from us and further south in Virginia. And we would go there just to feel like we were at home.
Just to feel like we were at home.
Chewy's is a Tex-Mex restaurant that started in Austin. Yeah. And so
we have one here.
Love Tex-Mex.
Yeah. Really, you should tell them to take you there today.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Go there a lot.
I'm going to ask Kristen, what do you have planned for Tehilah today for lunch?
Great spot.
Well, thank you so much. To think about what ministry that you're moving into is so inspiring and it's so exciting. But my heart, it just warms my heart to think that someone has the passion to help to give those children's directors a voice, tools to give them empowerment on their team. I love what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And so Justin's going to tell us more.
You have a final question.
We have a final question. Sorry. Hold on.
This is, I think, episode 117. And she still forgets that we have a final question.
Episode 117?
I don't think. It's somewhere like that. I think the one coming next week is 117. This may be 118.
Well, it's funny that you said, where would you go? If you were to get into a plane and could fly anywhere for a specific food.
Oh.
I know.
Yeah.
If you could get into a plane ride and fly anywhere you've ever been for a specific food, where would it be?
Well, I would say I've never been here. Can we say that too? Like, I have a dream of going to Italy just for the food. I do not care. I do not care about the sights. I do not care about the countryside. I don't care
You
for
don't care about the Italian
I don't really
countryside?
care for pasta and stuff here because it's all just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just very like boxed and it's just whatever. But I've just seen so many travel shows and so many cooking shows about Italy and the fresh pasta and just all that stuff. I'm like, I gotta go there. Like that
gelato.
Yes, gelato, real gelato. Like that's there, like the town of Parmesan or whatever, where Parmesan cheese, like real Parmesan cheese is. Like
The fact that there's a town named Parmesan.
Yeah, like apparently no other Parmesan cheese is real Parmesan cheese. Like you have to go there to get this cheese.
Parmesan.
Yeah, so there's just stuff like that. Like the world's greatest restaurant was there for many years. It's no longer, but like number one. But that's what I want to do is go to Italy just to eat. I don't need to see any sights. I don't need to get on a tour bus. I don't need to go to Leaning Tower Pizza.
Have you ever eaten fresh pasta? Like, I don't know that. I'm trying to
Probably
think.
not.
You can make it, right?
It's hard.
Yes.
I tried and it wasn't good.
Yeah,
No
It
one's
was
wanting
chaos.
to do
1,000
that
steps to do
do
It was
it.
chaos. It's like you pile up flour on your counter and just like stir around egg. Like it's a wild process. And then you have to have like the right tools to make it the right
That's
texture.
true, yeah.
Because like I was
then
just
you
like
gotta,
using a knife
and
to
you
like
have to
cut
run
it.
it through some crazy
it's
machine.
wild. I tried
But
it
I would
once.
never know how to thread that.
It was
thing.
awful. So I would go to Italy.
Ooh.
Nobody would want my homemade pasta. Okay. So for me, it's like getting on a plane. Where would you fly? Anywhere to get incredible food. Boy, that Italy thing is a really good idea.
It is.
I'm kind of tempted by that. Hold on. Tehilah, do you know yours?
Mine is like two-part. One, I would fly to Uganda. My aunt, married a Ugandan a couple years ago. And the one thing they make is peanut soup they call it matoke. And it is plantains that's like mashed, almost like mashed potatoes, and you eat it together. That's like my favorite food for me, it brings out so many childhood memories and I want to do that. But the other thing is street food. I'm obsessed with street food. And so if you drop me like in Asia and just let me roam the streets and eat street food, sign me up. I want to go to India, Thailand. Like it's on my to-do list.
Wow, that's adventurous. That's
huge. Did you see Crazy Rich Asians?
Yes.
When they fly to Singapore.
Yes.
And that scene where they're eating all the crazy food. That to me is really
it's amazing. And like the greatest traditions, like long like years and years of tradition of cooking is found in street food. Like things you will not find in like cooking books. You will find it like a lady that I saw a documentary. She's like, her family has owned this restaurant for more than 100 years in Thailand. And so they have this ancient way of like cooking food that in my head, I'm sure makes the food like amazing. And so there's just like history of culinary like traditions that they use. And I'm like, sign me up.
I'm
Get
down.
me there.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I saw this at a chef's table that was about a restaurant like that just has been around forever. And it was like based on a monastery and they've had the same vat of soy sauce for like 6,000 years. Something ridiculous that like, and I'm just like, I want to swim in that soy sauce. It looks so good. Like I'm sure it's the best soy sauce that's ever been made. Because it's like this same vat that they keep working with daily. Like it's a whole thing. So I hear what you're saying.
Man, both of your ideas have been both really inspiring because I love the street food idea. I love to go where there's just a ton of like trucks and try different things from each one or just knock them out one by one. I think for me, getting on I know that this is so American, but getting on a flight and going to New York City, I just think that they have a little bit of the best of everything.
Sure.
And then knocking out some of the best restaurants there would be really cool.
Yeah.
I haven't experienced incredible food in these places. I would like to do that. I think when we're there, we're eating like, we only have $10 for today. So I'm in New York City eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm in New York
more money.
I got some peanut butter and jelly. We're not eating at McDonald's again. It was $80.
Yeah.
You can do like called the food tour where you like go to different restaurants and then there's black ice cream in New York. I know so much about food.
Tehilah.
Guys,
You should be leading
food.
these
I really
tours.
should.
Yeah.
I love food. But they have like this black ice cream that I think you can only find like in states in the US.
Yeah.
But it's in New York, started in New York. And then there's also a cookie place where it's like the ingredients or how they make the cookie is all flavors about your ex-boyfriend.
Wow.
All in New York.
New York or concrete jungle. Where
Flavors of your
Yeah.
ex-boyfriend.
Alicia Keys.
I don't even remember that. I couldn't even tell you any of that anymore.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
No.
That is definitely.
We could talk about food a long time.
We
I love
could.
because I've got 6 more ideas now that we talk
So
about.
we got to
it, but-
definitely wrap up this whole show. Tehilah, we'll be praying for you as you
Thank
take on
you.
these new adventures, and we're just so thankful that you guys, your family, has spent time with us. It's made us better, and we love you guys, and we're just so thankful.
Yeah.
Justin, tell us how to find more about the show.
Yeah, if you enjoy this show, we'd love for you to share it. Send it to somebody who would be encouraged by it. If you have a heart for ministry worldwide, or you want to partner with what her family's doing, we'll have the link in our description so you can check out 3 Strands and what's going on there, what Tehilah's gonna be doing with them. And we love for you to rate, review, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, like it. It's free, guys. Like is free, like free to like. And you can always email us at podcast@cityrise.org if you have suggestions for people that we can talk to.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, you guys. We're glad you joined us today. We hope you've had an almost amazing time on the Almost Amazing Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Almost Amazing Podcast from the CityRise Network, based in Houston, Texas. CityRise is a partnership of church campuses, nonprofits, and missionaries devoted to lifting our city and the world by generously giving the gospel of Jesus Christ. For more information or to find a church campus close to you in the Houston area, visit cityrise.org.